Welcome back to another episode of the Snowboard Instructor podcast. This episode, we talk with Dave Crozier, a Nidecker athlete who works at Real Snowboarding alongside being a trainer for Basie. Alongside this, we have a sponsor for this episode. Watch and Ride is an online snowboarding school which focuses on improving your ability no matter what level you are. With loads of quick tutorials and feedback from high-level instructors, you're bound to improve not just your technical ability, but also your knowledge. They also have a fitness program to help maintain your fitness for next season of shredding. As we all know, lockdown has made us a bit lazy. Visit Watch and Ride and use the coupon code Snowboard Instructor Podcast for 25% off your order. We hope you enjoy this episode and have a great day. Yeah, thanks for joining anyway in the podcast, mate. Did you have a read through the questions? It was kind of just, like I said, a fake structure. It wasn't too much of a mission anyway.
I briefly looked at them, but then I didn't really think about them.
Don't blame me. It's all good, man. It's
just got distracted and did something else. But I'm pretty sure if you're trying to ask questions about my life, hopefully I know the answer. So that's fine.
Yeah. How's things where you are at the moment?
Yeah, so I'm in sunny morzine, and it's boiling hot outside, so I've had to close the curtains. Otherwise, I might get jealous and jump through the window and do this podcast outside.
Yeah.
But yeah, I'm in morzine, and yeah, I kind of thought winter was going to go ahead. No one knew what was going to happen, and then I came over here to kind of prep, and then it just didn't happen, really. So I was pretty gutted. You know, obviously I got to snowboard. Even though the lifts weren't open, but yeah, just been splitboarding really, and then I actually haven't been able to snowboard since 19th of January. I remember the date because I had an accident.
Yeah, I heard about
myself.
that. Yeah.
So I haven't been snowboarding really since.
How's the injury now? Is it feeling better? Is it just
yeah, it's good, man. Like, look, I've got a snazzy computer chair now because I had just like a little kind of crappy chair, and had to buy myself a proper one if I was going to sit down and do work on the laptop because yeah, basically I just fractured 2 vertebrae in my back. My fault really. End of the day, it was like last hits of a powder kicker that we'd made.
Yeah, you were with Neil McNair, right? And
no, he wasn't here doing this powder boot. I think he was in town at the time.
Okay, who were you with? Because I think I saw a couple of videos of just like you guys shredding. You with Jason, was it as well, or?
Yeah, I was with Jason Rickwood. There's a guy in town called JJ. He rides a bit, I think, for K2, and Barry, who's the other side of Real Snowboarding. And then a couple of the other guys was kind of local boys. Maybe a bit of a slightly older crowd, which was quite good because everyone's kind of very sendy, which is really good. And yeah, we basically built on the back of Super Morzine. You got like kind of Morzine, then you got Super Morzine, then you got avoriaz. And on the back of Super Morzine, it's actually a perfect spot to build powder kickers. So it dumped down with snow here, and we were like, yes, frothing, like it is time, you know. So we built this jump. I don't know, it wasn't like that big. It depended how fast you went on it. But, you know, you could easily, it's like an easy 20-meter kicker, you know. Well, like 15 to 20, depending on how far you went. But the run-in was so sketchy. And, oh my God, like running into this thing was like, you know, if you've ever done like a border cross race and you're like got 4 guys next to you and you're like flying around a corner and it's like, you're like skitting on your edges and like, you just close your eyes for a second and be like, oh, stay on my feet. It was like that kind of run-in. It was only like 2 people that fell over once on the run-in. And like, these are good snowboarders, you know? So anyways, we started off and I was feeling quite good, like a backflip first hit. So I was like, yes, you know, straight away, get upside down, like 1-0 to me against all the rest of the boys sort of thing. And then after that, it just kicked off, you know, and Barry's a bit of a sender. He's like a silent sender, you know, he's a bit of an assassin on a board. And he just jumps in, and him and JJ both, I think Barry went backside double 10 and then JJ went frontside double 10. And then I was trying like back 7 and then kind of messed it up. And then I took a bit of a break, because like walking up and down takes ages. And then me and Barry, we were like the last kind of guys at the end of the day, and the sun was just going on the takeoff. And I was like, double front flips? And he was like, yeah, 100%. And then we were at the top of the jump, and I was like, okay, let's go. And I was like, I'll go first. And I dropped in, and when I went down, I went off the jump. Instead of going right over the nose of my board, my edge kind of slipped a bit. So when I took off, I fully committed to it. Hands went under my legs, went for the front double fronty, did one front flip. But then because I went slightly to the side on the takeoff, lost my edge, it went front flip kind of off axis into a back flip. I knew I scuffed it up. I still held on to it. And then when I came down to the landing, I landed in someone else's bomb hole. So instead of being lush powder, it was just quite firm. And when I landed, my legs just went over my body, and I just folded in half like one of those kind of gimmick beds that come out from a wall, And I just heard like a kind of crack, crack. And I was like, oh, shit. Am I allowed to swear on this? Couldn't believe it. I knew I'd done something. And I've hurt my neck before once, which is another story actually. But I knew something had gone wrong. So I immediately just like looked up, and one of my friends, Joel, I just said to him, take my board off. Please get my board off. And he ran over, got my board off, and they were like, you're all right. And I rolled over onto my back, and I was like, oh God, I think I broke my back. And they were like, no, can you move your legs? I was like, yeah, I'm fine. Can you stand me up? And Jason Rickwood was like, I don't know if you should stand up, mate. And I was like, no, let's just see what's going on. I need to figure out my body sort of thing, So I stood up, and I couldn't put any weight on my like legs because it just, obviously my back, it all just goes down through your back. And I was like, oh God, I have to go back down and lie down again. So I lay down, and then kind of just was dealing with the pain, just kind of breathing through it, because it was actually quite painful. And then I said to the boys, I need to get out of here, Stupidly, I knew that the resort is closed, but the mountain's open. So that, I don't know what it means in terms of insurance, but I was pretty damn sure that I wouldn't be insured to get a helicopter and stuff, because you're only insured to do like randonneering and like kind of snowshoeing on the designated tracks. So the fact that all these like hoolies had just gone off and built a bloody huge powder booter, I don't think they'd be pretty stoked on getting a helicopter over, especially if the hospitals were quite full. So me being quite stupid, I asked the boys to just put some snowshoes on me. And I got one guy under one arm and one guy under the other arm. And it was about 250-ish kind of meter walk out of there in deep snow to the nearest kind of pisted area, kind of where snowshoe kind of Nordic skiing kind of area. And then, so they started walking out, but obviously we only had like 3 pairs of snowshoes between like 6 of us, and everyone had to like make a trail for me to get out. So I wasn't sinking loads. Yeah. So I got like this guy, Jack Taylor, another guy, shout out to him. He was at the jump as well. And everyone's taking my stuff, and he's trying to like make the way out of this snow. And you can imagine he's got no snowshoes on. The snow's like coming up to his chest. And at one point he just goes to the side, and he's just looking at me like, I know you're in loads of pain, but I'm really sorry, I can't move. And just ends up rolling down into this snow, and everyone's just falling everywhere. And anyways, I get out, and I don't, because of the whole insurance and the rules and stuff, I didn't know if I'd be insured to snowboard. So I basically left the snowshoes on me, got half of the boys to leave. They took my snowboard with me, and then we called the pisteurs. They came on the skidoo, and they were like, what have you done? And I'm like, well, you'll never believe it. 17 seasons I've done, and I put snowshoes on for the first time today, and I was running over here to see my friends, and I looked backwards, and I tripped, and I fell over, and I did a roll backwards, and I think I broke my back. And they were like, really? Like, in the distance, they're looking at like a massive powder booter. The guy's like, are you sure you've done it snowshoeing? And I was like, 100%. That's what I did. And so there was 2 of them that arrived, and they were like, well, we can't move you. We need another person to come in, securely move you onto this inflatable kind of thing that would then get you on the blood wagon. And I was like, I'll get myself on there, don't worry. And they just were looking at me, and I just basically did like a crab crawl onto the blood wagon. And they were just like, okay. And then they took me, ambulance came, everyone wearing masks. And it's really hard because French it's not fluent, it's not amazing, but it's all right. Like I get by, I live here, I'm pretty happy with where my French is. But when people wear face masks, and you're in an ambulance and they're asking you loads of questions and you're under kind of stress a bit, my French just went out the window. I was like, I have no idea what this person, I can't lip read. I have no idea what this person's talking about. Like the whole situation changes. It's like trying to speak French on the phone to someone who mumbles,
Yeah.
And the situation then dawned on me. I was like, whoa, this is actually, I'm kind of not in a good spot right now. And I got to the Morzine Medical Center after taking an ambulance down to there, and they scanned me and they were like, can't see anything wrong with you. And I was like, well, like I'm pretty good with pain, but this is pretty next level. And they were like, well, we'll go back and have a look at your scans. And I was like, I really need a pee. Like, can I have you got anything? Like, I can't make it to the toilet. Is there any way I can have a pee? And the guy like gave me a bottle. And at this point, Barry was with me in the hospital, the medical center. And they were like, well, we'll just leave you and you just have a pee in this. But I've never been in hospital. I've never lay on a bed and needed a pee without moving. So my instincts was, I'm going to have to stand up like I'm going in a urinal, hold this plastic thing and just have a piss in it, So I stand up off this hospital bed with my broken back, and I'm leaning against this bed just like, oh God, I need a pee. And I finished peeing, but my trousers fall down. And then like, obviously I can't lean down to pick them back up. So then I'm just stuck there with like both hands on this hospital bed, just like my pants are just down. And then the guys like Barry gave me like a few minutes and stuff. And they came back in and they were like, everything, ça va, Monsieur Crozier? Everything okay? And I'm just stood there just going, and then my pants are just down my ankles. It's just the most ridiculous scene ever. So Barry, like shout out to Barry. He had to pull my pants up for me. But yeah, after that, they couldn't find anything wrong. They were like, you can get your friend to take you to the hospital if you want. And I was like, no, like I need an ambulance. You've got to take me to a hospital that can do a better scan, a different scan. So they took me down to Animas Hospital, gave me a scan, and they were like, yeah, you broke 2 vertebrae in your back. And there you go. So I was in hospital for like 3 days and then had a corset, kind of brace for 6 weeks. And then now I'm 10 weeks, really, I think 10 weeks done. Yeah. So I'm back on the yoga and things. Well, not back on the yoga. I never did yoga, but now I do yoga.
Because the back.
I'm a yoga doer now. So every morning I'm waking up and I'm doing like, yoga. I'm actually getting into it. It's pretty good.
Yeah, a lot of people I've seen just starting getting into yoga, and it's like super helpful. You got your own yoga mat? Yeah, if you like personalize that out. Like,
I had a yoga mat ages ago. I just never used it.
Oh, really? Nice.
Yeah, but I've got a block now. So my girlfriend was like, "You need to get a block." I was like, "A yoga block?" And now I've got one and using it. So got like a kind of, actually COVID's been quite good for me because I've hurt myself. I haven't missed out on that much. And now I've got the time to kind of put a schedule down or a routine where I wake up, eat good, do my yoga, and then I can do some exercise and fix myself and concentrate on my body, So I'm not getting any younger.
What has been the suggested kind of recovery week? What did the hospital recommend in terms of when you can kind of fully get back on the board, or was
it's pretty wild because when I was in the hospital, I didn't really get told much information, and they were pretty crap because they were just like, you need to pay. Like literally came into my hospital bedroom with a card machine and were like, you need to pay such and such amount of money, like $3,000 or something. And because my insurance wouldn't pay out because I didn't tell them within 24 hours of having my accident, which is just ridiculous. But they kept on saying Brexit, EHIC, it doesn't, blah, 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 nothing, Brexit, you can't get, any help here. And I was like, it's definitely valid until the expiry date of my card. they were like, nope, it's not happening. And I was like, well, I can't give you that money right now, So I left the hospital and they kept ringing me. And then I eventually got in touch with the EHIC people, and their offices are based in Newcastle. And that's where I'm from. So as soon as they answer the phone, it's kind of not like, oh, hello. It's very like, Yari Pet, what's going on? And I'm like, you never go, guess what? I'm stuck like in France, and I've got this bill they're trying to pay. You have to pay for it, and EHIC doesn't exist apparently. And they were just like, oh, that's ridiculous. And they just got in touch with the hospital directly and sorted it all out for me, which was really cool. So kind of thank you to the woman that was on the other side of the phone in Newcastle to helping me out, really.
Saving the day. That's sick.
But I'm on the fix. It's just a minor setback, and I'll be good for summer surfs, and next winter hopefully be stronger than I was before, So yeah.
Any summer camps?
Hopefully, yeah. It really, if we do one, it's going to be last minute, just because we have no idea what's going on. I know we would love to do a summer camp in Teen. Really like the Teens Glacier. It's a very small park, but the shaping crew are really rad, really nice people, and they'll kind of shape and do whatever we suggest. And then it's really easy to get to. And then we always stay at the Dragon Lodge, which is a really good place to stay. You got Will there and everyone who was super helpful and quite inspiring as snowboarders themselves. So it's a good setup to take kids and adults there, to be honest. So hopefully we'll get back there. But I really don't know what's going to happen with COVID and the whole passport situation in terms of, are you going to need the vaccine to be able to travel, which it looks like you are. How many people are going to be doing that? So I don't know. Summer's all up in the air right now. So
yeah, man, it's fingers crossed. We've got a summer camp to go to and do Alps.
Yeah.
Kind of around July time. And it's all sold out, which is great. Like there's so many people going on, but yeah, it's more of just the waiting game and seeing like what's available and what we can do.
Yeah.
Luckily we're going to drive down, so it should be a bit easier in terms of everything, but it's still taking that gamble and still trying to figure out what restrictions are and going to be in place and whatnot.
Yeah, man. I've been to Des Alpes once and I stayed there for a week and I didn't get to snowboard because the glacier was closed the whole week.
Oh, fuck's sake.
That's for you guys. Yeah, geez, no. But that'll be good. Yeah, I don't know. Summer camps, hopefully, fingers crossed. But you know what? If it doesn't happen this year, I just feel like what we're going to do with Real Snowboarding is just start like a very good, fresh kind of beginning when it comes to winter and get everything planned and give ourselves a bit of time and just kind of enjoy this downtime of doing not much and looking after ourselves. And, like I said, I'm not getting any younger. So it's just a good time to concentrate on me selfishly and look after my body. And then, next season, we're never going to get anything like this probably ever happen again. We're never going to get this time off, home time and all of this sort of jazz. So, it's just unprecedented times really, isn't it? So.
So I kind of want to go into the history of yourself, mate, and talk about, origins. Where did you start learning to snowboard, basically?
Oh, I learned to snowboard in a place called Wickenham Thorns, and it's probably no one's ever heard of it. In Newcastle, just across the water in Gateshead, you have a 20-meter long dry slope. I learned, and it was just a little quarter pipe at the end. And I remember going with two of my friends from school, a guy called CJ and a guy called Dan Mitchell. And we used to just get on the bus and then, eventually got our own snowboards. But Dan was the only guy that had a snowboard at the time. And then, we used to go there and just literally 2 turns and then a tow rope. So I learned 2 turns at a time, really. And that's when I learned when I was in school. But I played football quite a lot in school, and that's what I wanted to be. I wanted to be a footballer, and I got quite high up in what I was doing. So like my uncle Ian, his son is a professional footballer now for Newcastle. So it was really part of the kind of family, that's what all my dad did. And I was playing for a really quite a few reputable teams. And then I just fell in love with snowboarding. And those 2 turns at a time turned into me getting lifts and going down to Leeds Castleford. And then eventually I quit football, and remember having a conversation with my parents, just being like, football's not doing it for me. I find that it's a bit, I remember it was just like one point I was playing football, and it was a really like high kind of intense game. And just remember the parents on the side of the pitch, just like literally like growling their teeth, being like, snap his legs. And I was just like, I'm not into this, man. Like, it's just not me. Like, I'm really competitive for sure, but I didn't like the way it was making other people. You know what? You know when you go to a football game, everyone's shouting and swearing, and they're like, yeah, like kick his head in. And it's good, like, because it is competitive, but it was too much too early on in life. And I was like, I'm out. Like, give me something where I can just progress my skills. And I remember saying to my dad, like, if I'm not going to be a footballer, I'll be a snowboarder. And he was like, well, cool, I kind of believe you, so go for it, show me. And then that's what I did. So those 2 turns at the dry slope turned into Castleford, and then a couple of times down at Tamworth and things like that. I remember being to Manchester when it first opened. It was too expensive for me, I couldn't afford it and stuff. And then eventually I went on a season to Les Arcs, and I met a guy called Richard Jonas and Katie Blundell. And they were like, cool, come snowboarding with us. I was like, yeah, sweet, let's do it. And Les Arcs had a big jump then. It had like, Les Arcs a really good park, but back in the day, I don't know what it's like now, but they had like the park, and then they just had one huge booter.
Yeah, they don't have that anymore. It's just probably the park, and they probably have a couple of jumps, but not one big one.
Yeah. And then I was just like, as soon as I got there, I was like, that jump, I'm going to hit that jump. So yeah, I just did loads of laps with Kate and Rich, and eventually just started hitting it and started spinning on it. There was a guy, can't remember what his name is now, really old school snowboarder. It's called like everyone called him Bumble or something B, I don't know. And I seen him do like a back one and a back 3 and these things. So I was just like, I'm going to do that as well, but I'm going to hopefully do it better. And then did that season, which was really cool. Got really good at boozing, got really good at partying and getting up in the morning. These were the days where I didn't get hangovers. And then straight after that, I went to New Zealand and got a job there. Actually, as soon as I got there, I moved into a caravan, and it was awful. So I walked into Wanaka Backpacker, and they were like, yeah, you can kind of work here on reception and do whatever you want, walk the dog and stuff, and we'll give you accommodation. So I did that, and I had a season pass in Cardrona and Snowpark, New Zealand when it was open. And yeah, just that's when I seen Fish, where he said I had a good 2-on. And from there, I got obsessed with like rails, really loved rails at one point, and just want to learn every single trick. And then what else? Yeah, New Zealand. And then after that, I actually did university. When I came back from there, I'd been doing like, what was it? I did New Zealand, and I came back, and then I started uni, and then just really wasn't interested in it, to be honest with you. I just kind of panicked. And I remember what happened was I was surfing in Tynemouth, which is kind of near the area where I'm from. And then I just had my board shorts on, and it was just before September started. And I was like, just got back from New Zealand, and I was like, uh-oh, what do I do? And I just walked into uni, and I was like, I really want to go on this course. It was like multimedia design course. And the guy was like, oh, have you got your A-level results and stuff? And I was like sitting quite far away from him. I was like, yeah, like I've got all the results that I needed for getting on this course. And he was like, okay, and just put them down. He never looked at them. Lo and behold, I don't actually have that many A-levels or GCSEs, to be honest with you. I did my GCSE maths. I got a D, and my mum was like, David, you're going to need to get like at least a C, to get anywhere in life. I was like, okay. So they got me a tutor, and then I had to go around this old guy's house like once a week or something. And it didn't matter how hard he pressed on the piece of paper asking for an answer. I was never going to give him the right answer because I was just blank, like mathematics in my head at that time. I was like, I don't even want to be here. So anyways, I endured all of that. And then I retook my GCSE maths and I got a D. I got an E. So I got even worse after tutoring. So I was like, I'm giving up on this, man. And I ended up gone on a tangent there, sorry. But yeah, I ended up just going into uni and I got on the course. And then I did 2 years of uni, snowboarding locally where I could. I remember trying to go down to Leeds to enter the like animal slope style British champs or something back in the day. And I tried to back one onto the down flat down, like thin metal bar that they had there. And I kind of like got caught up on my heel edge and just slammed on the ground. And the landing, which had already been bombed out because it was like the championships were the next day, and I went down the night before just to be like, I'm going to get a run in and going to give this a shot. I popped my shoulder out and I was like, no. So then I had to drive all the way back up to Newcastle with a desiccated shoulder and get it all sorted out. And yeah, that was a nightmare. But yeah, I did that. And then I did 2 years of uni, and then I took a break because I didn't want to do it anymore. And I loved snowboarding. And then I went and did a season in teen, and then went back, finished my uni last year. And then I went back to teen again for like another, I don't know, man, lost count, probably six, 7 seasons after uni. And then I would always do Hosker in the summer and go down there and surf and help out with my friends, kind of surf house, did Cornwall as well one summer. So I used to always do that. And then I was on the bus, I think, one day, and I seen Neil McNair, and he was like an instructor, and he was on the bus, and I was like, whoa, this guy is like legit, you know? And I remember having a really brief but quick conversation with him about like how to be an instructor. And he was like, yeah, Basie, man, just do a Basie 1 and 2. You'll like sail through it. Just do it. I was like, okay. So I was like, as soon as I got off the bus, I was like the heavens just opened, and I was like, I know what my purpose is. You know what I mean? So I worked as a pizza delivery guy. Got really good at, ironically, I got really good counting numbers in French, even though my GCSEs in English were crap. Well, the numbers are obviously the same. And I was like, cool, but I got really good at speaking like in French with numbers. And then I just enrolled in a Basie 1 course, which was in Val d'Isère. And I remember the guy, Steph, I'm good friends with him now, with South African Steph. He is he's a rad guy, really good Basie trainer. And I was in teens and I was starting to drive over. I'd like borrowed someone's car to drive over, wasn't insured or anything like that. Just drove over, tried to do it on like the lowest budget ever. And then I eventually just got chatting with the lifties who do the main kind of gondola from teens up to the top to be able to drop into Val d'Isère. And one day I was like, right, I'm just going to go and ask them if I can get on at the same time as the mechanics go on or whatever, or the people at the restaurant at the top. They were like, yeah, jump on. If you got a course, go for it. And it was a POW day. So I dropped in all the way down to Ladai from the top of like teens and just rode all the way down, powder day, like probably got like 30 face shots in a row, like got to the bottom, like shaka, yeah, just like getting barreled and stuff like this from snowboarding. And Steph was like, oh yeah, not impressed with that. You know, you've got to drive round. Like, I don't want you coming down here covered in snow, already snowboarding when all the other students haven't been able to do that. You know, that's not fair. And I was like, not fair. I was like, who is this guy, you know? But I didn't want to take an attitude because I was learning from him, you know what I mean? So I was like, if he wants me to do it a certain way, then I'll do it a certain way. And I was like, I don't know, I was pretty gutted because for me, that is snowboarding, like just turning up, whatever, just like, boom, yeah. But you could tell everyone was looking at me and a bit kind of maybe jealous. And you don't want to get all these emotions when you're doing Basie courses and stuff because everyone's put money into it. They're quite stressed. And then here comes, you know, tubular Dave, like, you know, like taking the piss really. So anyways, I did my Basie 1 there. It was really interesting. And then I did my Basie 2, like the season after, I think, once I got some experience. I did a bit of shadowing with a French ski school in teen. And then I got my Basie 2. And then I needed to do get experience in shadowing hours. So then I actually went to Austria. After all those seasons, I went to Austria, a place called Obergurgl, which actually had no park, which I was a bit like, oh God, why am I going somewhere without a park, I think they've got a good park now. And then I went there and rode loads off-piste, and that was really cool. And I taught loads, every person under the sun I pretty much taught there, and in German, and loads of Dutch people were there, and I had to learn quite a bit of German. I remember my first lesson there was with 13 kids, and none of them spoke a word of English. So I was just like, I had to make up stuff that you don't get taught in any manual in the world or anyone had ever told me before. I had to come up with kind of my own adaptation of what I'd been told so far of how to teach. And I had to be quite animated and, get people to, kind of copy me really, and be quite enthusiastic about all the different moves I did. And I don't know, felt like a bit of a Blue Peter presenter at times rather than a snowboard instructor, but it was good. I did that, and I dressed up as a penguin one point because I turned up to a lesson, and they were like, "You've got no snowboard lessons today, but you've got a contract, so you're going to have to work." And I was like, "Cool. Well, what do you want me to do? Shovel snow?" And they were like, "No, get skis on." And I was like, "I don't ski, And they were like, "Doesn't matter, get them on." So I got on these skis. I don't think I'd ever skied before because, I just was never going to, it was just a thing I was never going to do. And they put a big penguin costume on me, like a huge one, and with a headpiece on, and I was called Bobo the penguin, and I had to, I was a mascot for the school for a day, and I had to ski. I was just constantly falling over, but then clicked onto it quite fast, and then did that. And then after that, I started on my Basic 3, met Barry, and don't know why I'm pointing there, he's not over there, but he's down the road. And then Basic 3, went through all of that stuff, and then I moved to morzine after that because Barry was like, "It's so good here, they've got the stash, the park's amazing, come and shred with the boys." So I did a holiday from Austria to morzine, stayed with Barry while I was still going through the exams and stuff, and it was in April, and it was the best thing ever. We there's loads of side hits in morzine and stuff, and at one point we probably had 30 people behind us, and me, Barry, and a few other of the boys were at the front, and everyone's doing spins and grabs and flips off these side hits, and there's 30 people in a train going off these side hits, just the best days of spring ever. And I was like, right, cool, next season I'll be here. And then I've been here ever since. So season.
How did you find the step up from the level 2 to 3 when you did that? Was it pretty challenging, or did you find it kind of a bit easier than you originally intended?
I had to work on my stuff quite a lot, because even though I could snowboard, I could do the tricks that they wanted me to do. I could, not that I was trick oriented, but I could do what they wanted me to do. I could do what they asked of me anyway, but I didn't snowboard like that. And at one point I didn't understand why I needed to. So that's when I really kind of sat down and actually just thought about it. What are they trying to mold me into? And, I knew Ben Kinnear, and he was part of Basie, and he's such a strong, good snowboarder, and he's got a really good head on him as well. He's that is the coach, and actually on my Basie level 3 tech, I had Neil McNair, and, despite him being my mate and stuff, there was no way he was going to give me an easy ride. If not, he would probably give me a harder ride, because, he wanted me to reach my potential and stuff. So, I remember we got to the top of a black slope in Hintertux, and he was like, "Hey, I want you to go down and basically do these type of turns, and then I'm going to show you them." And he did. And I was just like, what I seen to what I thought was the way that was meant to be done in my head, if that makes sense, was way different. I basically just went down and straight lined the whole flipping thing, got to the bottom, went, did a huge cloud burst, came through the cloud, and was like, that was absolutely epic. And, Neil pulled me aside in front of pretty much everyone in the group and was just like, I'll write your report right now and I'll just put a big stamp saying failed on it if you do that again. He was like, wake up, And at that point I was like, okay, like, let's leave any silliness about me, any lack of professionalism about me, just put it to the side and actually focus on the task at hand. And I went back up there and literally changed within a click of the fingers and was like, right, he wants me to, set off on my toe edge. He wants me to really torsionally flex this board. He wants me to drive with the back foot. He wants me to come almost back up the slope, maintaining a good posture and balance, and then really do like an early edge change and come back on it and make it a really tight, turns. And I did it. And he was like, cool, well done. Like, you passed. And I changed it within, I think it was 2 weeks, the tech then. So if it was a week's course, I would have failed for sure. But I turned it around and I was like, now I understand. There was a big step up, going back to your question, there was a big step up, but I think in my personal experience, I'd snowboarded by then for quite a long time. And I wasn't your regular snowboarder where I'd go out and just be cruising around the mountains, grabbing a beer, doing lunch, have a backpack on and be with my skier mates. I was like, every day getting up, I'm going to become the best snowboarder I can possibly become. And I was clicking on to the lifestyle of it. I was clicking on to what was cool and what was not cool, and what were good tricks and what were bad tricks, and what was a good turn and what was a bad turn. And by the time, I'd done my tech, I was like, I had this idea of what a snowboarder was, like an all-round, strong, good snowboarder. So, even though I recognized the level was definitely stepped up, or the intensity and the seriousness of it, I didn't find it was definitely stressful. I was like sweating buckets while I was doing it because I didn't want to put a foot out of place, but I didn't find it super, super hard because they were like, for example, I've taught a Bezier course before and people can't do an ollie. For me, if you want to be a snowboard instructor, you can learn to do an ollie on your Bezier level 1. It doesn't necessarily mean you will pass your Bezier level 1, because you would hope, if you're wanting to be a snowboard instructor, that you've got a few of these things already in a flowing kind of state, like an ollie, how to kind of stand on your board, how to recognize you're standing on your board. You will get taught this, of course, and you've definitely got like days and hours on end of me being able to, or a trainer being able to be like, hey, you can't do an ollie, go away and practice it. If it comes on quite fast, then hey, 100% you're going to pass this course. But if you've got no idea what an ollie even is, you make it hard to do the step from the 1 to the 2 and then the 3. It's so, for me, I knew that sort of stuff and I knew that side of snowboarding, and I could understand what this plank of wood was underneath my feet. I knew it was a snowboard that would bend, but it would twist, and I knew why the bindings were wide apart, and I knew why my feet were at certain angles, and I knew why I'd set my stance the way it was. Like, I knew all of that. So anything I got taught on my level 3 was super interesting. And even though the tasks were quite new to me, like, hey, go do these type of turns, I knew how to do those type of turns, you know what I mean? From my own knowledge. So I'd already kind of clicked on, basically, to what it was all about, and done my hours. I think by that time I'd already done like probably 10 seasons, just under, maybe, with teens like Austria and Les Arcs, so I got the riding timing. But yeah, it was an interesting one for sure. It was hard. I think I found the teaching level 3 teach harder than the level 3 tech.
Just because of how you would teach it and stuff, or
I was like, part of doing the Bezier thing is you're learning to do like a job. It's a career as well, and part of it isn't just snowboarding and performing. A lot of it's presenting and talking and communicating. And actually going through Bezier made me grow up a bit, to be honest. It definitely made me mature and take things definitely seriously, but it also just allowed me to come out of my shell a little bit and learn how to talk to people that I didn't know, how to, say hello to someone and shake their hand properly, and just things like this, like look at people in the eyes when you're talking to them, and not act in certain ways, and that was really important, because then I could understand how people learn, when you do your level 3 teach. So for me, that was the eye opener. I had a guy called Bish for my level 3, but I think he's retired now in the hills of Scotland selling Christmas trees or something. He's a good snowboarder.
Sounds good.
He quit not long after that. But yeah, that was the biggest step up. I think the biggest learning point was learning how to talk to people.
Yeah, I fully agree with that. I knew, like, when I did my level 1 first off, it was like the communication aspect of it was definitely my downfall. But kind of after passing the level 1 and then going into instructing and just kind of constantly teaching at the Dome, it really helped with my communication, not just specifically on the job, but just wherever I go. And I know I used to be quite introverted in its own way and just not really speaking to many people. But yeah, it does really help bring yourself out. It makes you a bit more extroverted. It makes you a bit more confident. You're able to kind of do these stuff you wouldn't think of being able to do, a couple of years ago, and you're just like, wow, this is great. I can, like, speak to people.
Yeah. And I think it's a good thing to be an introvert as well, because you got that combination of kind of, I mean, this might be a bit of a stereotype, but if you're an introvert, you might be a bit more of a deep thinker, so you might actually understand a topic a little bit better than someone that's an extrovert, potentially. And then if you're able to communicate what you're thinking, then, and you get that message across, then it's going to be really, like, insightful for people. It's like, hey, this guy or this woman knows their stuff. This is cool. I'm going to listen to this person. So I guess like I definitely wasn't an introvert when I was doing Bezier. I've never really been that, that character, but I think now I definitely can, focus on a subject and try to be like that, to then play it to my abilities of being an extrovert, to be like, hey, this is how I have digested this, and I'm going to spew all that information out to you, and it works both ways equally. It's at the end of the day, it's just learning to communicate better, and we all need to try and do that. Like the flipping world needs to learn how to do that right now.
Oh, mate, that's great. Yeah, so kind of moving on quickly, before we move on, just to ask about the level 4, level 3 essay. Did you do one? And if so, what did you write as a topic?
I did, yeah. My topic was this is the proper title, an investigation into the potential usefulness of surfing within snow sports.
Okay.
What's your conclusion? I can't remember all the details about it, man, but I basically just fully went off on a tangent about how when you're learning to surf, you're going to do this, that, and the other kind of movements. And actually I put yoga in it as well. But then I just picked up on one certain thing that I had found in my investigation, which was about breathing. And I know a guy who's been trying to do his level 3 for ages. He's tech, and every time he got to the bottom of the slope, he'd be red in the face. Basically, just hold his breath all the way down, And I really found, like, when I do turns, especially now, I'm not meaning to sound like Gandhi or anything, but every time I do a turn, I'm like, when I'm like breathing out, exactly what you would do in the gym, like you're pushing something like whatever, bench press, you're breathing out, and as you do the turn, you want to breathe out as well, and that's what I picked up on my essay. And I found it within surfing, controlling your breathing, because if you got knocked off a wave or you were paddling out and you weren't controlling your breathing, you'd be held underwater. It wasn't good for you at all, and then panic would set in and mistakes would happen. And in order to get that kind of flowing state with, I'm going to just talk about snowboarding because that's all I know really, you need to be able to control your breathing, really, and be able to keep everything kind of calm, because then if you get tense, things aren't going to happen, and if you fall and you're tense, injuries can happen. So it was all just about like calming you the hell down, and that's what I did my investigation on.
Hey, that's it.
That's cool.
You know what? That's really interesting. I was like, I never really thought about the idea of breathing through to him. Definitely trying that when I get.
Yeah, I mean, like if I'm in, for example, I'm in the park or something, or even when I did my back, standing at the top of the jump, I'm not just going to drop in straight away, just be like, "Hey Barry, what's for dinner tonight?" Whoa, and I'm gone. It's like, you know what I mean? Like, let's zoom, let's get into like focus mode and let's make this happen, and obviously I totally guffed it up, so it's not really the best example, but accidents happen. We're all human, so that's what I kind of picked up on. I actually read something the other day. It's like a Reddit thing or something, and it was like, if you put Harry Potter and at the start of every single kind of essay title, like it just becomes hilarious. Like, obviously, like if my essay was called Harry Potter and the investigation into potential usefulness of surfing and snow sports, and he just changed every title to that. I mean, I'm not a Harry Potter fan, but I just giggled at it. I thought it was quite good.
That's great. Okay, I want to do that on my level 3 paper now. I'm just going to put that as my title.
Yeah, I think it was some like, it was the thing I had seen in this guy was studying for his like mid-papers or something in America, and every time he would leave his like kind of studying kind of room to get a tea, his like wife or his girlfriend would go in and just in Harry Potter at the top of Harry Potter and at the top of every title of all his research papers.
Oh, yeah.
Cool. Moving on to just quickly the level 4 then. How did you find that? I know it wasn't as much of as a weird jump, would you say, because you had an idea of already the more advanced ideas of the technical abilities and everything, how it all works? But
well, there isn't a technical exam on the level 4, but there was like the whole mountaineering side of things. And I mean, you're talking to like numero uno park right now, so when it came to that stuff, I did like, the level 3 mountain safety, and then I did that in Zermatt or somewhere. And that was fine. I did it, and it was definitely one of the exams that I'd listened the most. I was like, well, this stuff's serious, like avalanche awareness, using a transceiver. I had used one a lot before, but I hadn't been under kind of examination kind of conditions where the scenario became more real, where I'd had to find people, or like find backpacks, obviously when we're in a lesson and stuff. So I definitely had like another like learning curve, but I enjoyed it. I remember being in, I think it was Chamonix, and I'd done like it was a level 4 EMS like pre-course or something. I think you had to do, I can't remember. It was a long time ago, and I hadn't really figured out like the kit and stuff. Like that's the most important part, I think, about like touring. And I know it all now because I know what works for me, but layers and things like this was so important. And, I was quite young, so I just blast through and be like boiling hot, walking up and just deal with what I had to deal with. And one day I was so hot, and I had this jacket, bright yellow jacket that I'd been sewing up, 'cause just had no money in my life really. And, I hung it on my backpack, and I had these goggles that I hung on my backpack as well. And I was in my thermal top, and I'm just like, walking up, feeling good. And then like this ski group walked past us, and I was on a splitboard, and they were like, "Oh, hey, Christmas tree." And I'm just like, what? And then my trainer turned around, I don't know who it was now, some guide in Chamonix, and was like, "Actually, Dave, like you do look a bit of a mess." And I was like, what? Like, don't judge me on my appearance, you know what I mean? And he was like, yeah, but you've got your goggles hanging off, your jacket hanging off and stuff. And I'm like, I know, it put me down. And I think at that point was the biggest point in my Basie kind of instructor pathway where I took a confidence hit. I was like, a stupid little thing like that, but literally got called out in front of the whole class. And I felt like, this big. And I was like, oh my God, like, I don't want to be involved in this anymore. Like, I don't want to be around a bunch of bullies. This is crap. But anyways, I put it to the back of my mind and was just like, well, I'm just going to do me. And the thing is, like, I had rope in my, because I'm such like, a bit of a perfectionist when I want to do things. If I'm going to do it, I'm going to do 110%. So I had like rope in my backpack. I had like a shelter for everyone in my backpack. I had like spare food for me and everyone else. I had water, and I had an airbag. Like, it only just fitted in. There was no way. It was either keep my jacket on and like burn down into like ashes, or take it off and put it on my backpack and have a good time. So I took a confidence hit, and that was really, at that time, that was really quite hard to get over, because you have to be quite confident in yourself and your skills and what you're learning, and be part of the group and feel good. So I learned something from that. I'll never, if I'm doing a basic course, I won't let anyone say a bad word about anyone else, because the effect it had on me, I won't let. And I always say that at the start of every one of my courses that I do, like, you don't take the piss out of anyone. That ain't happening on my course. If you do, you're out. Simple as, like, they didn't know they had shelter and suites or whatever for everyone else. And so many people turned up like, oh, I just didn't bring my shelter. I'll be all right. I'll use someone else's. And, because they couldn't afford the shelter, and, and I just worked as a pot washer for years and bought all the gear, because I'm fully invested in this, but yeah, that was rubbish. That was hard. But the EMS, it was really exciting. It was really interesting. And then I did my European Mountain Safety exam in Le Grave. And that was like, you think, I look out here and I look at the hills of Morzine, and I'm like, oh, nice little hill. You go to Le Grave and you're like, whoa, like, these are mountains, they're so steep as well. And you've got to know your map work and your compass work and all of that. And I studied hard on it, actually. And I did a lot of stuff with Barry, because I met Barry Parker on my level 3 tech. And then we shared accommodation, we shared rides and stuff like that. We got hired cars together to get to Le Grave from Morzine. So that was really good doing the Basie thing with someone to share the costs. But the level 4, was tough. And I definitely think I passed by the skin of my teeth. Yeah, it was full on. I remember I got quite an easy day to guide the group. And then Barry got a whiteout, and I was like, oh my God, like, Barry, you're fucked. And he had lost his glove, and he was like, I don't know if I can go on. Like, we're talking about in a blizzard here, like 3,000 meters up, And I'm quite fortunate. I get like clammy hands. I'm quite hot, like my hands and stuff. Girlfriend always moans about my well, doesn't moan, but always like, your hands, your feet, like, and I'm like, I can't help it. I'm a radiator. So I gave him my glove, and I was like, just take this, man. You'll be fine. So I gave him my glove, and he was like, cool. He carried on. And he guided the group through a total whiteout. And then the guy who was a guide at the top, wherever we got to, was like, so where are we, Barry? Like, haha. And Barry was like, we're here. And like, got it perfect. And the guy was like, well, actually, I think we're over there. And everyone else in the group was like, no, we're definitely where Barry says we are. And like, he nailed it. And yeah, remember, he was pretty harsh on us. And he gave us just kind of punching questions at us. And he was like, when was the Ice Age? And everyone was like, I don't know. And I remember seeing the Pixar movie 10,000 BC, the little guy that hides the acorn. And I was like, 10,000 BC. And he was like, how the hell do you know that? And I was like,
the movie.
I know this stuff because I was born in the mountains, man. Yeah, that wasn't snowboarding. What we did there was mountaineering, and it's super useful to this day. Unfortunately, so many people still die in avalanches, and it sucks, and even people that are really, really, really trained, and I'm not someone that tries to put my own opinion on it, or tells people like, don't go there, you know what I mean? Like, people do what they want, they can make their own decisions. But I definitely think when I go doing off-piste and stuff, I only ride with people that I know. I don't ride with people that just have a transceiver. I ride with people that know how to use them. And even some of the most soundest people in the world who have got really loads of snowboard experience panic when it comes to a situation of trying to pull someone out of an avalanche, you know. So fortunately, you know, I've got like Barry, who's a really good friend of mine, who I'll go snowboarding with, and we'll do off piste together. And yeah, we definitely took chances like everyone does, but I'm pretty sure like if I got caught up in something, he would do everything in his power without panicking to sort me out. So that was what I learned on there. I didn't just learn how to teach, how to communicate, and how to snowboard, and how to make decisions on the mountain. I like learned a lot about like my personal, like kind of where to go and what to do when I'm on my snowboard, and how to help other people. I feel pretty confident in that stuff now, but every day is a learning day with it, you know. But yeah, just don't land in a bomb hole when you go off a powder booter. No transceiver is going to help you there.
Would you say, like, especially this year because of COVID and all the lifts being shut, that there's been an increase in incidents in like touring and stuff, or maybe not because the lack of people obviously coming along and that jazz?
I don't know, man. Like, I think, yeah, you've heard about, I don't know, man. You just don't know what to believe when it comes to like media and stuff. Every year there's deaths. Every year it's inevitable, you know. Some of them could be, you know, saved. Some of them could have been, you know, made better decisions, but like there's always going to be accidents. And I don't think this season's really been any different to the rest of them, really. Maybe we've just heard about them more because it's a break in the COVID news and stuff like this. But I mean, every single, especially around here, every single day there's people touring everywhere. And I know there's been accidents in Verbia and stuff like that recently, which like really, really sucks. And I don't know the details of it, but like every year there's an accident, unfortunately. And I don't know if the figures are higher or lower. There's definitely more people touring, but I think people definitely realize what they're getting themselves into when they get into the elements of the mountain and the weather. And I don't think people are like, hey, let's get a split board and go up this really steep face, you know, that's potentially going to avalanche. Like, I don't think people are that, you know, stupid, and they're just not, you know. And most people that actually pass away, man, unfortunately, are like people with loads of experience, and that's just the risk we take, you know. I remember going up the mountain literally around the back of my house, and toured to the top of it. It took like 3 hours. It's called Point de la Resta Show. And on one, it's a really nice kind of, I don't know, kind of basiny kind of face, and then got a bit of a bowl in the bottom. And on the other side is literally like 1,000-meter drop, you know, and it's huge. And we got to the very top, where we got literally about 3 meters from the top where the cross is, and we couldn't go any further because we thought it was going to slide. So we stopped, we put our stuff on and started snowboarding down, and then instantly it was like, phew, you know, like, don't have to worry about anything. I went too far to the edge and actually did a turn on top of the cornice that was like overhanging the 1,000-meter drop. I didn't realize I got that close. And Barry was with me, and he was just like, what are you doing, man? Idiot, like, don't do that. And I was like, there we go. That's a perfect example of someone. I wouldn't say I'm a super experienced mountaineering person, but I'm a snowboarder, and I should have known better. And I scuffed that up, you know. And sometimes you just can't, like, that was an error on my behalf, but on other side of things, you can't predict what's going to happen, because it is quite well, you can predict it to a certain extent. You know, Henry's avalanche talk and stuff's amazing. But sometimes things are just like out of your hands, you know, and it sucks. So yeah, wrong place at the wrong time sometimes.
Yeah, I fully agree. It's a bit of a thing. A bit of a annoyance, but you know, we do our best to mitigate those risks, right? And
yeah, man, that's all you can do. You know, it's like a dangerous playground, really. But you know, you've got really, you know, people out there really knowledgeable to continue learning from, like, you know, McNabb and McNair and Stenty and people like that. You know, they bring a lot of fun to the backcountry riding, which is amazing. And they know, you know, a lot, which is good. And it's good to swap information, and as a whole community just grow more knowledgeable about the snow and the pack, and especially with climate change. And there's a lot of heat going through the snowpack, as you know, it can change things massively from day to day, you know. especially when you live in somewhere like Morzine, which is only 1,000 meters, 2,000 meters, and avoriaz, like the temperature change can be absolutely huge, you know, overnight, and really change things from day to day. So it's it's full on. But I'm not finished with my park days yet anyway. So
keeping with the park rat stuff. I love it. That's good.
And that's it. Yeah, exactly.
Moving on to just quickly to like just the training stuff and like becoming a Basie trainer and learning that stuff, and how did that feel to finally kind of get?
Yeah, it's scary. I remember I got my level 4 ticket. I was really stoked. Got my carte professionnelle to work in France, and then I got how I did it. I think I just applied for it. Seen an email or a post saying we need another snowboard trainer, and you needed like a reference. I can't remember who I used now. Probably Ben Kinnear and Neil probably. And I went to this trainer selection with a few people. Were there. Barry was there as well, and it was in Zermatt. And I remember not really knowing what to do. You know, they were like, we want like a really good coaching session about this. And I was like, all right. I think mine was like steeps, like short turns on steeps on a snowboard, which like I'd much rather teach people how to do a cloudburst. But you know, I enjoy doing it as well. So I had to do 2 sessions. That's what it was. I did switch straight airs, which is full on. That was really enjoyable actually. And I did steeps. And there was a guy called Andrew Lockerbie, who at the time was, I don't know, some head honcho in Basie. I can't remember what his role was. But anyways, he knew the job inside out. And he was a guy that said yes or no for me becoming a trainer. And he's a skier. And he was alongside my training session. And I set everyone off doing a task and then stopped them halfway down. And then he was just like, right, what do they need to do? And what do they need to do? And what do they need to do? And I was like, well, this person, and I was like, oh my God, like freaking out. Like, why is this guy like even raising his voice at me? And he just wanted to get answers out of me. He just wanted to put me to the test. Like, does this guy have it or not? And I was like, well, like that person's weight's on the front foot, so you need to loosen that front binding and get on the back foot, this, that, and the other, and gave them little individual tasks and then sent them off again. And I was like all the guys in the group were like giving me the eye, like, oh God, like so sorry you've had to endure this, man. Like I was freaking out. I was like, I've messed it up. And then we got to the bottom and I just kind of started to just be like, sack this off. I'm just going to snowboard away. Like, didn't enjoy that intense moment. And then we got to the bottom of the chairlift and I was just like, whatever, like get me on this chairlift, get me out of here. And then Andrew Lockerbie was like, that's what a trainer is. And I was like, what? And everyone was just like, it was actually a good session. Like they all knew it was a good session, but the way that he got the answers out of me was like, let's just cut the bullshit. Let's cut the niceties. Here is a subject, a snowboarder. They want to do this task. How do they do it better? You tell them straight up, straightforward. Stop with the fancy talk. Boom. You know what I mean? Don't hold their hand. If they're a snowboarder and they want to be better, this is what they've got to do. Like, boom. You know, no emotion involved in it. And he was just like, sometimes just put your emotion aside. I guess that's what he meant. And just tell them straight up what's going on. And I did that. And he was like, yeah, that's what a trainer is. Like, not what a trainer is. Obviously, you've got to put emotion in that, but that's what he wanted out of me. Like, that's how fast we've got to make this. Chip, chop, chop. That's what you got to do. Because I think he got frustrated. There was other people in the group that, you know, had brought like iPads along, or they took too long just explaining what to do. And he just wanted people to be like, this is the task. This is the information, evaluate it, and then boom, develop them, see you later. Like, you know, using the 5 model of Basie. And that's what I did. And then Barry was just like, hey man, like, whoa, that was intense. And then I knew that I'd got it. And I honestly, for however long it took me to ride down, I was like, I honestly was nearly going to go past the ski lift and just carry on down and just go have a drink or something, just get over it. But I got it. And then I was like, sweet, cool, let's do this more. You know? The emotions in Basie are like this.
Yeah, it is. Yeah.
Yeah. So it's we've all been, you know, in the same shoes that every other student is, you know, and it's not nice at times because it is just snowboarding at the end of the day. But if you want to become like super good snowboard instructor, then unfortunately, like just like every system in the world, you got to go through it. You got to grin the bad times with the good times, you know. So yeah.
Damn, man. I bet you were like overwhelmed though afterwards. Like at the end of the day, when it was all said and done, you were just like, my God, I can't believe I've done this.
Oh man, yeah, totally. I remember even turning up, and I won't say any names, but someone had said to me like, you can't turn up with like your trousers rolled up over your boots and your boots undone. You've got to turn up like super presentable and stuff like this. And I was just like, really? You know, I mean, already the kind of that kind of schoolyard mentality of what I experienced on the level 4 mountain course. Someone was always already picking up on what I looked like, man. And I was just like, it's not, you know, it's not about what you look like. It's what you do as well, you know? Like nobody knows the background that anyone came from. Nobody knew that I was a dishwasher for years and years just to afford like the jacket and the courses. And obviously, yeah, I'm privileged, man. I did get help from my parents, which is really good. I'm really grateful for that because it's an expensive pathway to undertake. There's a lot of hidden costs as well, you know, accommodation and food and just board repairs and everything, man. It's like, it's full on, you know. I remember on my level 3 tech, I broke my goggles and I was like, oh my God, I have to, so what am I going to do? And I just got some duct tape out and redid them, you know. And if someone had took the piss out of me for having duct tape goggles, like, this is not the thing that you need, you know. You got to concentrate on you and you alone, really, to get where you want to be. So yeah, it was an intense moment, but hopefully all of those intense moments are behind me now.
Man, you're putting the real and real snowboard in you are, mate.
Yeah, this
For
is
sure, yeah. Definitely.
Right there.
Yeah, reffing. Yeah, before we move on to like the next topic and real snowboarding, I just want to quickly go over your adaptive training and working with the RAF especially. And you know, that experience there when I was looking up, how did you find the adaptive course first, and how was it the experience working with like the RAF?
I love the adaptive course because my dad had a business that was fitting kind of level access showers and like hoists in any like kind of grab rails and things for people with adaptive quality. So people, you know, that potentially had like a mental illness, a learning difficulty, like, or you know, anything, someone, you know, who, you know, was in a wheelchair or something, you know. So that's the kind of environment that he'd introduced me to at quite a young age, where I just like follow him to work sometimes, or I have to go in when I was like 15 or 16 and just, I don't know, take some. I remember he gave me one job, man, and it was at like a council high-rise building, and I had to smash up like 17 cast iron baths and then like put them in massive wheelie bins and like wheel them into the lift and then downstairs. And like, obviously it doesn't sound like the hardest job in the world, but smashing up a cast iron bath, man, like can make you deaf practically. And that was tough, but it was all for people that needed new bathrooms and needed, you know, a better quality of life to be able to go to the toilet properly, to be able to like bathe and shower. So it's quite a rewarding kind of business that he was in. And then when the adaptive snowboarding came up, I jumped at the chance. I was like, this is 100% for me. This is actually, to this day, is something I really want to be involved in, which I've never been involved in, unfortunately, because I think perhaps there's a bit of politics behind it. I've put my hand up a million times, but you know, I'm not gonna go brown nose anyone just to get the job. I'm here and I like to do it and use me. You know, I know they're using other people or trainers and whatnot, but I'll wait for my time. Hopefully I'll get it. But yeah, I found the adaptive course like super interesting. I was on the very first one. So I was on the first one with, I think it was a woman from Disability Snow Sport UK called Rachel. I think she still works for them, Rachel Davies or something. And Ben Kinnear was on the course as well. And I did it with those guys. A few other people were on the course, and it was super interesting. There's actually a person on our course who was a snowboarder, really nice girl, and she had an accident. I think it was in New Zealand 2 years before or a year before, and she'd had like a traumatic brain injury, hit her head quite hard, and she was bouncing back from it. And so she was quite interested in this adaptive stuff as well. But there was very early signs when we were on the course that she hadn't really fully recovered from this TBI. So I definitely recognized that Ben had to have a potentially quite a difficult conversation with her, just to be like, hey, I know you're doing this course to teach people with potential TBIs, but actually you still have, a TBI as well. And it's quite evident that you do. So that was like, whoa, that was like interesting to just be there and witness and see how actually I didn't care about her reaction to it, because it is what it is, but I wanted to see how Ben would communicate that message to someone, and how he would deal with the situation. And obviously it did happen behind closed doors, but I could really pick up on the body language and everything that goes unspoken, and learn from it. And that was cool. And then learning like the bi-ski and stuff was amazing. Like I love riding switch and stuff, and every day when I finish teaching, say for example, I've got someone that's naturally a goofy rider and I'm regular, I'll do the whole lesson goofy, even if it's the one-footed stuff. Like I really believe everyone should be able to do it both ways around if you're an instructor. And then obviously I'd always bomb down from work and hit side hits and spray and be like, woohoo, spray as many skiers as possible. And then there's at one point where I come back from work and it's a really narrow piece and it can be quite icy, and I'd always ride switch. So I've always done that, knowing that if I'm ever using a bi-ski, that I'll feel super comfortable going around the back of it like a kind of shopping trolley, getting on the other side and being able to maintain and hold an edge, because this person could fall over and hurt themselves. And I found that amazing. I did a little bit of a joke with Ben once. He was strapped into this bi-ski, and we were in Tamworth where the dog leg is, and I like fully just went straight for the wall, and he was like, and then I just got him away at the right time. And that was pretty funny. But I think just being more aware about all the different elements that come into teaching someone with an adaptive quality was really full on. Being able, at one point of our course, being able to essentially have someone on the heel edge, but actually like restraining them so they can't, because some people might just punch you for no reason. You don't know what their behavior is. So I mean, the whole course was amazing, and I'd love to do more, but it just doesn't seem to be many like opportunities in it. And I'd love there to be more people. I know you like interviewed Swifty and stuff, and I've met him a few times, and it's really rad. And then my mate James, who's just got gold in the World Cup for Paralympic. They just got it like yesterday.
Solid. Nice one, mate.
He's actually just missing a hand, and he's a fully great snowboarder, and he's just got gold, which is amazing. But just being able to like ride with him is like I did a coaching session from like a year or two ago and did a nice report on him, and just being able to pick up on things that could help him, and I love it. I think it's great. I did a video years ago with a girl from Australia, came over to Morzine, and she was actually a triple amputee. One of her legs was amputated from above the knee and the other one from below. And she was on a honeymoon, and she caught a strain of meningitis when she was 18 and had like her arm removed up to like a forearm kind of area, and then both legs amputated and like fingers kind of missing and things like this. And she was on a honeymoon, and I did a video about it. It went on Empora and stuff like that. It's called Sarah Hilt, and we figured out a way to get her stand-up snowboarding. And that was like a real big, I couldn't have done it without the Basie adaptive course, but oh my God, like the slam she took when we were learning, like, cause I didn't know how to act, I didn't know if I should hold on to her, all the time. I didn't know she didn't want to be too much, a lot of people, even though they've got like an adaptive quality, they want to sustain a lot of independence, so you don't want to overstep your mark. And we basically held hands for 5 days straight. Like, this is the pattern. This is what movements you need to be able to do. And we're going to do them with your arms, to get your hips in the right place. We're going to get your shoulders here. We're going to work this movement with the board, this, that, and the other. And we spent 5 days like intensely going through it. And then afterwards, I just was like, and let it go. And she just ripped it up. It's so good, man. And that was like a big moment for me, actually, in my snowboarding. I was like, I'm so stoked that I got to help this woman like achieve snowboarding. Like, she was so happy. And we did a video, and I got her husband at the end of it to she was like, at the end of the video, like, snowboarding is really easy. And then her husband just like whacks her on the legs with his ski pole, and it's like ding ding. And it's just like, you really want us to do this, Dave? And I was like, which way are you going to take this joke? It's like not a joke. It's just like, let the people know, like you've done something amazing here. And then, yeah, she was over the moon. We had like champagne afterwards, and yeah, stayed in touch a little while. But yeah, she's moved back to Sydney now and doing all of that. But now she's fully able to snowboard. It was actually cheaper for her to come to France to see me, to get lessons from me, than actually get lessons in Australia.
Oh, wow.
Because they would charge more money for someone that needed essentially more of a lesson, more assistance. You know what I mean? I was like, I've taught beginners that are way worse than you, and they're, fully able technically in their body, but she had that natural feel, she had the balance, which is like, yeah, it was just nice. So the adaptive thing, I think it's amazing. But other than doing Sarah and being like, definitely being involved in it, in the things that I read and see and can practice from every once in a while, I'm not really involved in it too much, which is a shame. But maybe one day it's a path I'll go down,
especially when it's progressing, and it is still progressing.
Mate, it's so new.
All that jazz, isn't it? Yeah,
so new.
Yeah, 100%. Yeah, it's pretty amazing, actually. So what was it? I was talking to James Sweet the other day. So he's the Paralympic coach. And he stayed here for a few days in between. He just got back from Finland, and then he's going somewhere. He's in Italy right now, which is where James has just won his World Cup gold. And he's got a new guy that works who's on the team called Ollie. And he was like was he more of a mountain biker, BMXer, or trials motocross guy? Anyways, he's missing a leg. I just seen on Instagram this morning that he just kickflipped a skateboard, and he got silver as well in the World Cup. And he's only been snowboarding like a short time. And then he backflipped on his snowboard, and he's backflipped on a BMX in Alaya Bay, the new surf wave thing in Switzerland where they got a skate park and stuff. I'm like, whoa, that's amazing. Like, so good. So I think good things will come of this guy. And with Carol, his coach, and James and Sweet, and James and Owen Pick and stuff, they're all charging it, really. So I'd be excited to see the Olympics basically with those guys. That'd be cool.
Can't wait. It'll be like seeing them on TV and be like, I know that guy. Just pointing away.
Yeah. Give me a shout out, man. Real Snowboarding what?
.co.uk. Hey, you gotta give him some merch now to like wear over on his
yeah.
Have you seen?
Oh, man.
Cool.
Yeah, good.
Yeah, what about the RAF?
Oh yeah. RAF I got into through Lewis Sonvigo, good friend of mine. He was already coaching them, and he, like, years and years ago, he just was like, and the guys, the team, they need another coach. Do you want to be involved? And I was like, hell yeah. So I went, turned up at this resort in Austria I'd never been to called Hinterklemm, and they were all there, and I arrived pretty late. I actually was on the train, was waiting for my train, and I was like, I'm so hungry. So I went to like a vending machine, just like literally on the tracks pretty much. And I was like getting a Twix, but my Twix was stuck. So I'm like shaking this thing. And at the same time, my train turned up and opened up the doors, and I was still getting this Twix. And then the train doors closed, and then it went off, and I missed my train. I was like, oh my God, I was just getting a Twix. And anyways, I got the train after, and I got there really late. It was like my first day at the RAF, and they were all in the pub, and they were super pissed. And as soon as I got there, like Lewis was like, yo, what's up, homie? And then he was like, hey, this is Dave. And then everyone else was just like, oh my God, it's our new coach. And they were just like, Jaeger bomb, pints, like shots, tequila, this, that, and the other. And I was like, within half an hour, I was hammered. Like, I was like, tomorrow it's not going to be a good day because I'm the worst person in the world with hangovers. And I was like, and I had to get out the next day and then work first day of RAF with a hangover. And I mean, man, you can't pay me to snowboard on a hangover. I just don't like doing it. I'd never do it, to be honest. Got through that, and it was really enjoyable. And been working with those guys like for years now. Unfortunately, it didn't happen this year. It's been good. It's like a bit of a family now, you know. They call me, I think it's Corporal Crozier, which is cool. And Lewis is like Captain Sonvico or something. And there's been some funny, like the nights out with those guys are pretty funny. In the training, like they take your word. They're like, what should I do here, Dave? And you're like, backflip. And they're like, all right. And you're like, I'm just joking. They're already dropping.
Yeah.
You know, it's like, slow down. But I love it. I think they're a great bunch of people. I've met some like lifelong friends actually through there. Still speak to all of them all the time, pretty much. And then hopefully I'll do it for many years to come. And it's like just one big family, and they just go up and they want to have a good time, but they want to represent like the RAF and do the best they can and excel in the snow sports and basically beat the Army and the Navy. But also just like have an experience, you know, they work their asses off. And some of them, man, like when I first got there was a couple of like firemen who'd been to Afghanistan who literally had seen some bad stuff. You know, they probably don't tell me half the stuff that they have seen, probably because they're not allowed to or whatever like that. But it's pretty nuts that side of the world. I never thought I'd get to experience that part of life because it's so like military, and you know, I'm sitting next to someone who's like a wing commander and their phone's like going all glitchy because it's probably hacked from the Russians. I don't know if she's joking when she says that, but I'm like it's probably true, really, because like they're so high up in it. And you know, some people's jobs are like they're a war planner, and you know, they have to deal with, I don't know, crashing helicopters. Or I mean, I was speaking to one guy from the RAF the other day, and he was like, sent me a selfie, and he was like, hey, I'm in Norway. And then the next day he's like, sent me a message and he's in Jordan. And the next day he's like all the way in like near Las Vegas and stuff. And they've got to do like big stints of work. And you know, the RAF, they get the piss taken out of them. They always say they stay in the hotels, and you know, the army always in tents and things like this. And but like all the services, they've all got pretty intense jobs, you know. And it's cool to be able to almost let their guard down a bit and snowboard with them, and then they just become a normal person to teach snowboarding to, you know. But they've just got that competitive edge to them where they want to win, basically. Yeah, they want to beat they want to beat the Navy and the Army and stuff. And Barry actually coaches the Army, and then I do the RAF, and I think Jason Fish, they do the Navy now. And it's just funny watching them. They're cool. But I've made friends for life in the Navy guys and the Army guys as well, because me and Barry, it hasn't happened for years, but normally when they go to the Brits, you get like some RAF and Army and Navy, they enter the British Championships in Lax. And me and Barry have gone there in the past and taught the best of all three services. And then they all come together and then they try to enter the Brits, you know. And that was an amazing experience as well. And just being in Lax with, you know, rubbing shoulders with some of the best snowboarders in the world is just like, it's full on. You know, the jumps are huge there as well. I remember asking Barry, I was like, Barry, what's the speed for this, you know, what the first jump of the pro line? And he was like, yeah, just follow me in. I was like, all right, cool. So we're like flying into this jump, and I'm like, oh my God, this is fast. And then we both take off, and Barry's on this side and I'm on this side, and I'm regular and he's goofy. So we're facing each other. But when we go off the lip of the jump, I'm expecting him to just do a straight air, you know, speed checking it. He does a back one, and back one's pretty much into me. we tapped boards in the middle of the air off this like huge 70-odd foot jump, man, hit each other in the middle of the air. Somehow I landed back on my board and Barry just was like, boom, down, like, he just gets back up and he's like, go do that again. You know? Like, whoa. And all the RAF and the Navy and the Army guys are just like, these guys are nuts. Why did you do that? You know? So, yeah. No, the RAF, there's not much else to say about them, really. They're all just really nice people. It is just their job. It's just like, they don't think about it any different to the way we do it. They're just a bit more, I don't know, militarized. Is that a word?
Yeah, definitely. More.
Yeah, I get. Yeah,
strict. You know, they're just like, this needs to be done at this time, and if you don't do this, then like, get lost. You know, like everyone has their jobs, and it's just very structured. But other than that, they're a good laugh, and yeah, I've met some great friends. So hopefully, hang out with them more. You know, it'd be nice. Yeah.
But yeah, cool. I want to move on to the next topic of Real, and just kind of really speak about the steeziness that is the company itself. So how did like that start off? Did Barry kind of talk to you about the idea of Real as well? And
it was a funny one. Like we, as I said before, like we split the costs when we were going through our Basie stuff. And then when we were splitting the cost going through there, we were like, cool, we need to make a living, man. We need some money, you know? So as soon as we did that, I'd already moved to Morzine, and we were like, let's work for a snowboard school here. So we did. But, you know, as soon as we did it was just like, even though we were teaching snowboarding, it wasn't really fun. I don't know, it just didn't click with us. You know, we were we were wearing like bright uniforms, you know, we didn't want to do that. I didn't want to look like a lollipop going down the slopes, which is a bit, I know it's a job. Everyone's got their uniforms and stuff, but with snowboarding, you know, you still got like, you know, the lifestyle kind of element to it. And, you know, I didn't want to look like a traffic cone. And that was one part of it. And then the other half was like, it was just what we were doing for other schools, not naming any in particular, but any schools, was just like pumping lessons and getting money, and it was just like scramming as many into one day as possible. And I was soon going to burn out doing that. You know, it wasn't about, even though we needed to make money back, it wasn't like a get rich quick scheme. It wasn't something that was any part of our hearts, you know. So I actually only worked a month for that school and then realized I didn't want to do it. And I got a call at the time saying my dad was ill. Was actually before that, he'd already gone through some like chemotherapy. And then when it got to that point in the winter, I got the call being like, it's actually really damn serious. So I went home and, you know, spent the rest of the winter there. But like previous to that, my dad got ill in the summer of 2014. And I already spoke to Barry about this, actually, if he's cool with me saying, but when he got ill, he got cancer, and Barry actually had the same illness many, many years previously. So when my dad got ill, I knew Barry, and we were going through the courses and stuff together. And he just turned up at my house one day. And he just, like, I answered the door and he was just like, yo, you're right. And just walked past me and just went into the kind of kitchen / lounge area, and just sat down with my dad and was just there and was just hanging out. And, you know, just gave him a bit of like support and a bit of, how do you say, like, you know, I couldn't put myself in my dad's shoes. I didn't know how my dad was feeling, but Barry maybe did, because Barry had gone through chemotherapy and he'd had to deal with, you know, all these really fucking gnarly things that were going on with someone's body, and all the family things that were happening. And, you know, and Barry was in Japan, like however many years before, and he got stuck like upside down in snow, whether it's a tree well or something, I don't know. And he hit that panic button. He was like, I might not get out of this. So something triggered in his body. I think you remember him telling me. And he not long after, he found a lump, and he was like, I gotta go home. And he went through the whole chemotherapy thing, and now he's totally fine, which is great. So then when my dad found a lump and had to start chemo and stuff, like I said, Barry just came in the house, and he was just there and made him a smoothie, and he was just like super sound, man, like just was there. And I was like, wow, like this guy's like a mate, like this is a proper mate, like this is cool. And we were already talking at the time. We were like, we will kind of want to do a school, me and Barry maybe want to do a business one day. And we had a list of names that we wanted to do, and we had like daft names, like I don't know, I can't even say any of them because there might be snowboard schools now and I might be dissing people, but there was one word that came about, and it was Real Snowboarding. And sometimes you get people who are like, real, yeah, go guys, you know what I mean? But actually not many people know this story. And we chose the word real because we wanted to be instructors that could do what we wanted to just inspire people, and establish a lot of confidence within people, and realize that, yeah, when you're snowboarding, there is a psychological side to it. And we understand that there is like a skillful side to it, which we can show you, and we can develop you, and we can let you grow your confidence within that. And we can really facilitate how you want to grow as a snowboarder. So real was a word that just kind of stuck with us, as cheesy as it might be to some people. And actually off the snowboarding side of things, it was something that was really quite like deep in our hearts, with the fact that, my dad got ill and Barry was ill, and they connected through each other. And then my dad literally turned around to me and was like, if there's anyone you're going to go into business with, because he had his own business, and, you don't trust people with money and stuff, but if there's anyone to go into business with, is this guy. And I was like, yeah, 100%. Like, and to this day, stress is a thing that doesn't happen in real snowboarding. It's something super stressful. Don't do it. Just whatever, sack it off. We just don't deal with it. Barry doesn't want or need a stressful life, and nobody does, and he's very good at just ignoring drama situations like that. I'm definitely more of a dreamer and sensitive, and he's definitely more down, like not more down to earth, but he's just more I don't know, he sees the emotional side of things, but he doesn't snap at anything. He's just like, cool, that happened, let them do that, we'll just do this, and he's so humble with it. And it just, the word real just kind of happened in the end. It was just like, well, that's the only thing it can be called. Unfortunately, my dad passed away, and Barry was a really good help to me as a mate. A lot of my friends were, obviously, but after that, he was just like, cool, we're doing it then. And my dad knew we were doing real snowboarding before he passed away. He was really stoked on it. And then we've done it ever since. And it's just a thing that, we don't argue. We've never, business partners may argue and stuff, but we don't. Everything we do is for the good of each other, because at the end of the day, someone could rip our snowboard school away from us, like COVID, but all we've got left really is a friendship at the end of it, and an experience, and that's all we want. We're not in it to, we're in it to make a living. Like, we want to be able to support ourselves. Maybe one day we want to be able to buy a house, living in seasonal accommodation constantly, and I'm nearly 35, but we're not in it for hiring snowboard instructors who have got their tickets who aren't actually a really good snowboard instructor. We want to hire people who are great people, good snowboarders, and like just rad, and we can trust them, and that's exactly where we started from. That's exactly the relationship that me and Barry have got with each other as friends. He deals with like the money side of things. I deal with like more media kind of side of things, the website and the Instagrams and things like that. And we both share the bookings. And I don't even need to look at our bank account, because I trust him 110%. There's not much money in there anyway, to be honest. But like, everything is just like, I don't need to question anything. I know he's not going to do me on money or anything like that, and I know he's not going to do the snidey on me, and it just works. And it's a really good fusion of people, really. And we're a small team, We're going to be a little bit bigger next year, hopefully. And then that'll be our maximum that we're going for, is like a team of six people that we can concentrate on, and we can help the instructors that work for us to be able to, you know, pass on a bit more responsibility to them, to let them grow as not just instructors, but mold them into hopefully coaches as well. Got a really good guy called Jack Taylor that works for us at the moment. He's a young guy. I did his birthday party the other week. Oh my God. And that was full on. And he's a really good snowboarder, and he's a really nice guy. And we trust him 110%. And he, you know, wants to further becoming a coach. So if there's any opportunities with like the RAF or anything that I could in any way help him, 100% I'm going to do it. But we teach in a way that's definitely it's definitely from Basie, but it's kind of in practice as well, as in like, you know, we've learned what we can through Basie, and then we're like putting it out into the field, out into the mountains, to be like, you know, this is what happens in a real life situation, and to give any advice and support where we can with our instructors. So yeah, it's going well, man, and it seems to be all right.
Hey, that's good to hear. Have you thought about anything else in terms of future wise you want to do with Real? Did you want to do like camps away a bit more internationally, or did you want to kind of stick in towards Europe when you did that?
That's the golden question, man. I don't know how to answer it, because I don't want to give like too much away, but I love surfing.
That's all right. If you want to keep it lock and key, it's fine.
No, cool. I don't mind at all. I love surfing, and I grew up surfing in Newcastle. Spent so many years in Oscar surfing. You know, been over to Indo and stuff, and my girlfriend like absolutely loves surfing as well. And you know, that's like Barry's more of a mountain. I mean, he loves surfing, but he's a really good surfer actually, but he's a mountain man as well. He's really into mountain biking. He's pretty settled here as well. But I love surfing, and I want to hopefully do something surf related, because I'm a surf instructor as well. So the people and the kids and the military people that we coach and teach, I'd love to get them not just doing snowboard summer camps, but also doing some little trips away surfing. Because I think like the big part of Real is when you teach someone, I hate lessons where you're just like, hi, my name's X, and you're never going to remember me, and this is what we're going to do, and this is me teaching you. I'm like, hey, where you from? You know what I mean? Like, let me get to know you, because then I'll be able to teach you better. I'll be able to have a laugh with you. You're going to relax. Like, we're going to do this. We're going to create like a friendship. And it's tiring, because I teach so many people in the winters, but if like 10% of them come back and they're invested in me or Barry or the other instructors, and then they want to spend time with you because they like you as a person, and you're kind and you're humble, and all you want to do is like make life better by having fun, you know? And it's like, hey, do you want to go surfing? Do you want to learn surfing with me? They'll be like, 100%. This guy knows exactly how to communicate with me and teach me snowboarding. Why couldn't he do it surfing? You know, and surfing's a growing thing. So I really want to, I don't know how yet, but I want to get the people that I teach snowboarding to surf as well. And definitely do more snowboard summer camps if the glaciers allow. International wise, we've always talked about, you know, going to Japan and doing this, that, and the other. But I think me and Barry both come from like, middle class backgrounds, but by no way that we've got money behind us. You know, like when we say to each other, oh, let's do like a Japan trip, but it's going to cost our clients this amount of money, we're just like, oh my God, you know, like that's expensive. And do we really want to put a price tag like that on what we do? Like, people will pay it, you know, but it's like, I don't know, we're just a bit scared about doing that. You know what I mean? It's a big thing for us. I don't know how we like fully feel about it. It's definitely, I mean, we definitely got the people that want to do it. And I've been to Japan before with some Vico, like filming and stuff for Nidecker, which is rad. And I do know it like well, but it's something that we want to do. But I think what we want to do is we don't want to just turn into this, like from Real Snowboarding into Real Empire, teaching and like being like really focused on people is like our main priority. We don't want to just be like, hey, we're going to do a trip to Kazakhstan, and then we're going to Japan, and then we're going to Alaska, and everyone just come with us, you know? And it's just like, boom, bam, bosh, you do your lesson, see you later, follow me. It's like, we're still trying to perfect what we're doing. And we've been doing it like 6 years, and we're still trying to make, like, I wouldn't describe it as like a product, but what we're doing is trying to make what we do like all time, like the best. So furthering ourselves in our coaching, furthering our own snowboarding, still trying to do double front flips so I can like show some kids. So he's just like, cool, I'll do a triple, you know, like we still want to perfect our vibe, and we're in no rush, because rushing equals stress as well. And it's something that we don't do. So have fun and make the people stoked. And if they want to come back, then they do it. And we're happy about that, you know? So, yeah.
Actually, moving on to the Japan and quickly the Nidecker stuff. I just want to quickly go over the idea of being a Nidecker athlete and how that feel the first time you were like approached by Nidecker, or how did it actually come around? And
it came about because, well, funny story, when I was doing my season in Obergurgel, I don't know if I'd seen Neil do a Euro or Will or someone like that. Anyways, I definitely didn't. I just was in Obergurgel and I did a Euro carve, and I was riding with a few people, a friend called Clara at the time and her friends from Innsbruck who all worked for Burton. And I was riding with them and I did a Euro carve, and one guy was like, what is that shit? And I was like, oh God, like, oh, is that shit? I don't know. Like, I'm not going to do it again. You know? And I was just like instantly like front flip off the side and blah, 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 you know, get back into the conformed area of what snowboarding should be. And I was like, why didn't that person like that? I was like, never mind. So I forgot about it. And then when I came to morzine, Sam, who worked for White Lines, and Ed, they see me do a Euro carve and they were like, that's legit. Like, let me get that on camera. And I was like, yeah, of course. And he was like, right, tomorrow morning, we're going to drive up to Avoriaz. I want you and Lewis, because Lewis could do it as well. I want you and Lewis to do like a Eurocarve, and we're going to make a video for White Lines. So we got there, and Lewis had a Basie uniform because he had a Basie course actually. And he told all these Basie students to meet him at the top of the park, you know, instead of like, you know, picking them up and being like, hey, I'm going to meet you at the bottom of the lift. And it's the first day of your Basie course. He was like, everyone like typing a message to them, like, meet me at the top of the lift and I'll be here at this kind of ish time, depending on when I finish filming. And everyone was a bit like, okay. But that's like what the beauty of Lewis, you know? And then we did Slice and Dice 1 for White Lines in one run. We did it in one run and they filmed it, and it seemed to just blow up, which is really cool. And then, Sam and Ed Blomfield, they were working for White Lines. And then after that, I think Nidecker approached White Lines, or White Lines approached them and were like, hey, we've got this really cool concept. Do you want to use your boards in here and stuff? And they were like, hell yeah. So they gave them a bit of budget, and then we did another one and everyone seemed to like it. And then after that, I think White Lines, whatever it was, Factory Media, went into like liquidation, or it kind of shut down. And Sam and Ed needed to find new jobs. So Sam found a job with Nidecker, is their like kind of videographer, kind of media guy, which is amazing. And then Ed went kind of freelance, where he still does like copywriting for the annual magazine, or he like creates the annual book for White Lines, and then does a lot of copywriting for different brands, and he does his photography, and he still does a bit of work for Nidecker, and he lives in Cornwall surfing, and he's a legend. He's a good pizza chef as well. So yeah, they did that, and then it came about where Nidecker wanted to, because Sam worked there now, they wanted to get me and Lewis to do another Slice and Dice. They were like, what you guys did was amazing, but now it's kind of all ours now. We want you guys to ride for us. And I was like, 100%, right, that'd be cool. I'll get some boards from you guys. Because I had like boards in the past through Sam Noble, like Endeavour boards and things like this, and just jumped from pillar to post to try and cut the costs down. And then Nidecker all of a sudden just like, how many boards do you want? And I was like, oh, I'll have that one. And they were like, here's 10. I'm just like, I'll take 10 boards. And then, yeah, we did another slice and dice. Then went to Japan, did another one, losing count of them. And then they sent like a contract through, and we were like, hey, we want you and Lewis to be on our global team. Which we were like so happy about. So then that's what I do for them now. So because of my back problems this year, I just been going up to avoriaz and doing a couple of like product videos, like, hey, this is our binding, this is how you use our binding, because some people, you know, you send products out to people and they're just like, look at it and they're just like, this is rubbish, don't want it. This is like a video where it's like, here's our product, this is the video about this product, this is how you use our product, like, don't judge a book by its cover sort of thing, like spoon feed people. So that's how the whole Nidecker thing came about. And I think originally the whole concept of slice and dice came about because James Sweet and Ross Taylor's from the military, from the Navy, Ross did a backside 180 over James Sweet in a really old Instagram video. And then me and Lewis seen it, and we were together doing something snowboarding. Oh, we were with the RAF actually in Courchevel. Yeah, Courchevel, I think. Marybelle, we'd gone over to Courchevel for the day. And we sent all the guys on a lap. We were just like, lap the park and get better. You know, and we were just like, me and Lewis were just on the piste, like hanging out. And then we got this guy called Frates, who was a fireman in the RAF. And we were like, hey, can you just point this camera here, like exactly on this spot? And he was like, yeah. And then I said to Lewis, I was like, Lewis, like front three over me, do it. And he was like, dude, front three. He was like, I mean, I'll do it, but like, you can't blame me if I chop your head off. Yeah. And I didn't have a helmet or anything. And I was like, yeah, just do it, go for it. And we dropped in, and first of all, we warmed up with a huge back one. And then I just went down into the Eurocarve, and Lewis did front three, and he was about that far from my forehead. And yeah, he did it. And then we put that into the slice and dice stuff, and then it all just kicked off really. And every single time we just try to come up with new ideas, you know, like, and we always think, I mean, we've definitely got haters, because people are just like, whatever, you know, it's just lying down on the ground and stuff like that. And yeah, whatever it kind of is, but I'm, you know, definitely holding our edges and just making piste riding a bit more enjoyable. And that's all it's meant to be. It's not meant to be like, hey, look at me, I'm absolutely awesome. It's not. It's just like, hey, try this. Like, for your average snowboarder, and maybe you're going to have more fun going down the slope. And then it just all kicked off. The whole slice and dice went nuts. And yeah, ended up going to China because of Basie, and like literally put me up in like 5-star hotels. And they were like, slice and dice. Yeah. So good. And when we went to Japan, people like knew us and were like wanted photos with us. And it was pretty awesome. And it's just taken me on a bit of a journey, you know, and new ideas come about, you know, like the newest one we did was we did a Magic Pass tour around Switzerland, and I just had this idea that I wanted to do a front three but land in the Euro, and I couldn't do it, and I tried it like a few times, and then Sam was like, doesn't matter, we've got enough footage, like let's pack it up. And then I was like, Ed, follow me. And then Ed followed me, and I did it like there and then, like on a different bump that I hadn't been trying it off, and it worked, and then it got in, and I was really stoked about that. So yeah,
mate, cool. I know who I'm sending my Eurocar videos now to. So yeah, we do them all the time in the dome as well. It's super fun.
Oh man, I love it. And then came up with like the switch reverse one, and like heel side carves and stuff like that, and it's loads of fun to just play about with, you know. And my roommate, actually, he loves Eurocarve, and he'll be like, hey, what do you think of this? And it's cool. And it's weird because all the lessons I've ever done in snowboarding are, or, you know, you can probably guess every type of lesson, but then some people come to me and they're like, hey, I want a Eurocarve lesson. And you're like, yeah. Yeah, bring your landing pads, because it's about to get cruisy, you know. And it's fun. And I love teaching Eurocarves as well. I've done quite a lot of like season air sessions where I'll teach Eurocarving, and it's just fun. You know, it's just a different way to snowboard. There's no good or bad thing about it. It's just like, let's try something different, and that's it, you know. So it's quite good fun. Barry gets a bit frustrated because his feet are too big. He's got like
just that little overhang's just like, oh no.
yeah. But then he's got all the tricks that you could ever wish for, you know, so that's good. Tallest man in snowboarding with all the tricks. So,
cool.
Yeah.
Last question, final thoughts. I hope this doesn't cut off because I did put the Zoom meeting from like 12 till 2. So hopefully the Zoom meeting does not just cut off on this final thoughts.
Oh God. But might do. Might drop.
So
let's
good.
get it done.
Yeah, we'll see how it goes. I've not experienced this before because I'm kind of recording on Zoom, and then we'll figure it out. We'll see it. If not, I'll just be like Facebooking like, here's the new link, and I'd like carry on with
so I'll edit it in and make it look seamless.
Yeah, so it's all good. But final thoughts is, in your opinion, what makes a great snowboard instructor, Dave?
Oh, what makes a good snowboarder instructor is, I don't know. I know people get really deep and stuff like this. I watch snippets of like some of your other podcasts, and people, I'm not like saying anything bad, but people get proper deep into it. Yeah. I don't think it needs to be deep. I think you've got to love the person needs to love snowboarding. That needs to be their first and foremost. It's not about money and this, that, and the other. It is just like, do you love snowboarding? Cool. You're going to excel in it. You're going to get really good at it. And then the next thing is, can you communicate? And if you're a really good communicator, can you get that passion and that skill set that you've developed yourself and with all the coaching that you've been given or done and get better? And can you be humble with it as well, you know? And like, are you inspiring people? And that's it, you know? It's like practice makes perfect. And, you definitely need to get to this certain stage in snowboarding where you're like flowing, where things become easier. But I think just that, you just got to love it. And when you love something, people can see it. You see it in your eyes. They see it in your body language, your personality, the way you talk about it, the way you describe it, and the way that you punt the messages across, and once you've got all of those things, it creates a really good formula to become a great instructor, and everyone can learn everything, man. It's like, yeah, for sure. Like if I learned surfing when I was 4, I'd be a lot better than I am now, but it doesn't necessarily mean I can't teach it, and I think the same goes with snowboarding. You put the hard work in and you don't take yourself too seriously. Have a good time, embrace all the people that you meet, and you change as a person, and you become an instructor. Like, oh, hey, that's Dave the instructor, or that's Max the instructor, like he's really good. He loves snowboarding every day, snowboarding, and I think like the best part of the job is meeting people, like, oh, hey, here's a person that I really stoked on spending my time with. Yeah, they're paying me to teach them something, but I'm actually really enjoying being in their presence and riding with them and having a good time. And when you get that fusion of people becoming like nice with each other, kind, and snowboarding and learning, it's rad. Why not? It's good, man. So anyone can do it. You just got to just do. I think a lot of it, especially when it comes to Basie, is like attitude as well. Like if you've got a good attitude, then cool. So yeah. Final thought.
Yeah.
Leave it on a deep one. And get inspiration, like people like Fish and stuff who inspired me, and like all of that sort of stuff, and hell, man, like I get inspired by the kids that I teach and everything like that. And it's just like bringing it all together and creating this life that you want. And you don't just become an instructor, you become a good person, man,
For sure. Cool. So after those final thoughts, where can everyone find you? If you want to kind of plug in Real, and websites and Instagram and whatever, where can people find you, Dave?
You can find us at Real Snowboarding, all one word, on Instagram. Not much is going on there at the moment, but you can definitely tune in because things are kicking off very soon for us. We haven't really been getting out and about, and we didn't really want to publish loads of stuff on there just because of confinement. And I think a lot of people in the UK are having a tough time, and we don't want to just be like on Instagram, like, hey, look at our life. It just makes people depressed in the UK, people aren't having a good time. And I don't want to be like, wish you were here, sat at like on top of a mountain having a rad time. Of course, there's a time and place for it, and we will post to keep things going. But yeah, I mean, I'm pretty active on it. It's just like I'm not on it every single day, but all the announcements for summer camps and winter camps and everything like that all get put on Instagram. So yeah, at Real Snowboarding. And then we got a website, which is realsnowboarding.co.uk. And then that's it, really. You know, if you enjoyed the podcast, 5-star trip advisor, why not? Joking. But yeah, that's where we're at. Just super simple, Real Snowboarding. And yeah, summer camps is for adults, it's for kids. And, you know, like I've said, I'm really interested in people, teaching people with adaptive qualities. We teach beginners all the way to advanced, you know, and like I said, the military and all of that. So everything can be found on the website or Instagram. And we're pretty attentive to like if we get messages and things like this. So, you know, if someone's got needs advice or anything like that, then, you know, I get people message me from like America and stuff asking about Euro carving and their setups and stuff, and always happy to answer that sort of stuff, you know, because then if you can help someone, you know, it's always a good thing, isn't it? It's a nice little reward. So yeah, find us there and get involved, and maybe come surfing with us as well, and have a jolly good time.
Ah, sick. Thanks, man.
Yeah.